You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, like some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And this evening we have some main course for you, and I'm talking about the Saints' 20-17 victory over the Carolina Panthers this past Sunday, and so that brings the Saints' season total to 4-10, and it drops the Panthers down a little bit to 7-7. So now they're kind of neck and neck again with the Buccaneers, when they did have a great opportunity, a fabulous opportunity to take a solid one game lead in the NFC South, and then have an opportunity to where they play them two more times this year, and they'd only had to have won one to secure the division. But now they'll need a little bit more help. It's not going to be quite as easy. The Saints made sure that it wasn't as easy. Did that to the Buccaneers the week before, and yeah, it's great. Yeah, I like the winning. It's a lot more enjoyable following the Saints and doing these podcasts when they're winning. But I guess my heart wouldn't have been necessarily broken if they wouldn't have won this game, just because, yeah, I think they get dropped down from the fifth pick to like the seventh now. And with the way the Saints are looking, and Tyler Shuck is looking, and the remaining schedule that the Saints have is looking, I could easily see the Saints winning out these last three games with what is it? We have the Jets, the Titans, and the Falcons left. So I could easily see them going 3-0, 2-1, and really just to save draft positioning, I'd maybe been okay with the Saints just beating the Falcons, and that being their last win on the season. So that would make them 5-12, which I think if you look at a lot of like gambling and websites and things like that, they only had the Saints total at like four wins. So they beat that total out. But we mentioned it kind of on the previous podcast that, yeah, it kind of hurts and stings a little bit seeing the Saints just kind of absolutely wrecking their draft position. But if we found our quarterback in the process of that, you don't necessarily need a top 5, top 3, or the number 1 pick, so you could just take Mendoza like the Raiders are probably going to do. Won't need it if we keep seeing these amazing performances by Tyler Shuck, and just gutsy performances. I won't necessarily say this game was quite as a little bit different compared to the Buccaneers game, because you didn't have him like rushing for like 20 plus yard touchdown runs and things like that, and the passing game was kind of dialed down and had to be thrown out the window a little bit in that Buccaneers game because of the weather. But I think it was just a full combination of complementary football that won this game. Can't necessarily say it was just Tyler Shuck throwing the whole team on his back, because the defense got some great stops, and your wide receivers made some great contested catches, and felt like receiver like Chris Olave kind of started taking over once Devon Bailey went out. But let's get into some of the stats here, and the team stats, and then we'll get more into the hot takes and MVPs and picks and scores and all that. But I just want to get through these numbers and go through some team stats a little bit. But anyways, so can I get a menu. And so we're talking about this. This was an evening game for the Saints. So it felt there was a couple moments in this game where it felt like it was kind of over, and that the Saints were able to grind back and come back and take the score. I think it was after their first opportunity where it was what 17-10, and then they just like what just start just like went like three and out and just gave it right back to the Panthers. That's when it felt like this game was kind of over. I think there was still like 8 minutes or something left then, but still it just felt like it was over because it was what 17-10, and the Saints just hadn't really done anything with their last couple drives, so it felt like it was kind of over. But man, they just turned it on, and you got your first game-winning drive by Tyler Shuck, and you got your first win in the Superdome by Tyler Shuck. So that was nice, and just the gutsiness that you had from Tyler Shuck. I want to say like he didn't take the team and put the whole team on his back and win the game, but I mean those last couple drives and him scrambling and sliding and taking those big hits from defenders on the slide, on them hitting him when he's sliding and stuff like that. It kind of felt like and it kind of looked like it. But Tyler Shuck, uh, he was 24 for 32 for 272 for 272 yards with an 8.5 average and a one yard and one touchdown, no interceptions. Like the big negative, it's got me clenching my teeth here, on top of him getting hit on those slides where he's trying to avoid getting hit. He also got sacked 5 times for 16-yard loss, but had a QBR of 60.4 and a rating of 110.4. But yeah, it seemed like on at least half of those sacks that he took, it looked like he just had kind of indecision on whether he was looking to step up in the pocket to continue to read and look for a receiver to throw the ball to, or if he was stepping up in the pocket trying to decide whether to run or not. But yeah, those numbers you just can't continue to take 5 sacks a game, and on top of getting lit up other times when it's just a quarterback hit or dirty hits on slides like that. Uh, but that's really just the main concern with Tyler Shuck. I don't really have a whole lot of concerns really anymore about like his his abilities. He's shown that he can win the games in any type of ways you want. Like he can come back in games and lead your team on game-winning drives for game tying touchdowns and then game-winning field goals. Just my main concern is watching him getting knocked around, and he had some leg issues and some collarbone issues when he was in college, and then it's just the age, but the ability of Tyler Shuck, I just want to say, man, this definitely feels like the Saints have their quarterback of the future, their future quarterback, and man, if Tyler, I think I mentioned it on the last podcast, if Tyler Shuck finds some type of way to put up similar numbers through these last 3 games and go 3-0, I guess we got like a Mecca Buka and like Jackson Dart and a couple of those guys. Besides the thing about Jackson Dart, yeah, he's got a lot of touchdowns and not very many interceptions, but I mean he's only won two games, you know. And so if Shuck was able to end the season and the Saints are somehow 7-10 after all that, and Tyler Shuck put up these similar numbers, like 250 yards per game and just a couple more touchdowns, maybe like 1 or 2 more interceptions, and I see Tyler Shuck as your offensive rookie of the year. So that was your passing. And then a moment late in the game after the slide by Tyler Shuck where he got hit by Rose Boom on the slide, and then that gave him an extra 15 yards. And originally they only had 12 seconds with no timeouts or anything like that, and he just like rushed up the middle for what, like 5-6 yards and got lit up on the slide, and and that gave I kind of gave the Saints kind of a timeout, kind of similar to a play that they had a couple weeks ago where they got a penalty that they were able to decline on a play where they picked up like a first down, but the clock didn't continue to run afterwards. Well, the Saints were beneficial, a beneficiary of that in this game because Tyler Shough, he got hit and got the extra 15 yards, making the field goal to go from like a 61-yarder to a 46-yarder instead, and stop the clock because man, on that slide with the 12 seconds, I mean, by the time the play was over, there was only 8 seconds left, and he was shook, got rocked on the play. But with those 8 seconds left, I don't think they'd even had enough time to line up and spike the ball anyway. So the Saints got really lucky that this game didn't end up going to overtime. But what I was trying to say with the Saints trying to run a little bit more time off the clock and Tyler Shough having to come out of the game for one play because he got hurt, kind of rocked a little bit on the play. They had Spencer Rattler come in there to try to just kind of bleed off 3 or 4 seconds by throwing a pass, just hiking the ball and patting it a little bit in the shotgun and then just throwing it away. But man, I started having like PTSD and feeling nervous and having flashbacks from Spencer Rattler being their quarterback. Like I just felt like you just can't win with Spencer Rattler. So I was just feeling like he's going to fumble or he's going to, even though he's supposed to just throw it out of bounds, somehow he's going to throw a pick six here. But luckily that didn't happen. We just got one attempt and no completion, just Spencer Rattler throwing the ball out of bounds and just not really wanting to see Spencer Rattler anymore since you've seen what you have in Tyler Shough. But I think we need to do a little bit better job in regards to protecting him. So that's the passing game. I could definitely go with those type of numbers looking like that for the remainder of the season. And then on to the running game, it seemed kind of like early on, like they had kind of a running game going. You know, their first touchdown came off of a Devin Neal run, but man, after that seemed like there wasn't much running game to speak of besides Tyler Shough, who was your leading rusher, who had 8 carries for 32 yards and a 4 yard per carry average. No touchdowns and a long of 13. And that kind of was one of my hot takes that I was thinking about listing or kind of posting for Tyler Shough was for him to have 30 yards rushing and a touchdown again in this game. But I stayed away from that, predicting that hot take or putting a receipt out for that. But I mean, he didn't have the touchdown, but he did have the 32 yards and was the Saints' leading rusher. But on top of the 5 sacks and him being the Saints' leading rusher, I don't think he can continue to take hits like that. And people like to compare him to Josh Allen, you know. But the thing is, Josh Allen's a lot more stocky and muscular and a lot more filled out and well built. But the thing is, people might think, oh, well, you give Tyler Shough a couple of years and then he can build some muscle and fill out. Well, the thing is, Josh Allen came into the league kind of built similar to Tyler Shough, but when he came into the league, he was 22, 23 years old. And then as he got older, as he got to 26, 27, he kind of filled out. Well, Tyler Shough's already 26, 27, so I don't think he's going to fill out or get more sturdy or muscular looking. So he's not Josh Allen in regards to a ball carrier. So I don't think we can continue seeing him getting lit up like he did in the game against the Panthers and expect him to be able to play a full season and not get hurt. But then you had Devin Neal, who was your leading rusher in the game before he ended up getting hurt. But he had 7 carries for 28 yards, which was a 4-yard average, a touchdown, and a long of 17. And that was a goal line touchdown. And man, Saintsy as can be, so you start getting something going with Devin Neal, and you know Alvin Kamara's hurt, but yeah, you got Devin Neal. He scores the goal line touchdown. He gets up out of the pile, and you see him spike the ball, And then next thing you know, hell, he's walking up the tunnel hurt. And I guess from what I've heard from it, sounds like he hurt his hamstring. Where did he hurt his hamstring on the run, or did he hurt his hamstring on the celebration when he spiked the ball? Because that's such a weird scenario there with Devin Neal, because he ran in for the touchdown, hopped right up, spiked the ball, and then didn't see him for the rest of the game. So that kind of wrecked the Saints' opportunity or ability to run, because then all you had really after that was obviously Tyler Shuck, but then just pure running backs. You had Evan Hull and Andre Estime, who had so you had Hull, who had 4 carries for 12 yards, long of 6, and then Estime had 3 carries for 11 yards, which was a 3.7 average and a long of 5. And Taysom Hill picked up a first down, and Mason Tipton got dropped for a 4-yard loss. But yeah, not an impressive day running the ball, even though I think that's what they would like to do. I think that would what they would like to do in regards to probably helping Tyler Shuck and making it easier on him. And then for receivers, you had Chris Olave, who kind of disappeared, was kind of invisible through the first 3 quarters of this game. But then I guess they thought like when he was running some of those routes, like later in the game, they thought like he looked kind of frustrated, and then Tyler Shuck kind of forced one, kind of a jump ball on the sidelines to him, and he just dropped it. But after that, he got hot and basically was what led the Saints march down the field on their last couple drives, and he was able to get the game tying touchdown, 17-17. And Chris Olave had 6 catches for 85 yards, 14.2 average, a touchdown, a long of 18, and 9 off of 9 targets. And then Devon Bailey looking just like he has the past couple weeks. He's the possession receiver, the contested catch receiver for this team, and he's the third down target. Like that's where Tyler Shuck is looking to go on third down, is like something over the middle, which is here lately. It's been plays where it's like 3rd and 10, 3rd and 14, 15, and Von Bailey and Tyler Shuck have been picking it up like it's nothing. But he was 5 for 69 off, which is a 13.8 average, no touchdowns, a 17 long, and that was off of 6 targets. But then on that last target, there was one where he caught it, kind of going over the middle, and he got like pancaked between two Panthers defenders, and I guess it hurt his shoulder. He coming out of the blue tent with no pads on or nothing, and then during press conference interviews or in the locker room, he had his arm in a sling. But I got a little bit more to say about that. We'll finish the podcast on kind of that injury report for that. But hopefully he'll be all right. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. And then Andrick Estime had three catches for 39 yards, which is with a 13-point average, and he had a 19-yard long on a screen pass that picked up on a good play. Was a crucial play in the game, was that 19-yard screen pass by Andre Estime, and that was off of 3 targets. And then Kevin Austin Jr., that's who kind of came in and came out of nowhere once Devon Bailey went out, and he was basically he was running the routes and getting the targets that Devon Bailey was, because he was catching stuff running over the middle and on plays like that. But he had 3 catches for 33 yards, 11 average, no touchdowns, a long of 18 off of 5 targets. And then you had Juwan Johnson had 4 catches for 30 yards, 7.5 average, no touchdowns, a long of 12 and 4 off of 4 targets. And then let's see. And then on to defensive leaders in this game. Some of the defensive leaders in this game. You had Chase Young had 6 total tackles, 4 solo, a sack, and 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. And that sack came on the drive or the series where after the Saints tied it up 17-17, and then the Panthers had the ball back and he had that sack came on a first and 10 and helped the Saints get the stop and get the ball back to where they were able to have their game-winning drive, be able to kick that field goal. So that was a big-time sack in this game. And then let's see, weren't really any other like turnovers or interceptions in the game. You just had some leading tacklers. Jonas Sanker had 6 total tackles, 3 solo, a tackle for loss. Jonathan Butler, defensive tackle, had 6 total tackles, 2 solo. Just the whole defense just kind of played kind of solid, but didn't have a bunch of sacks, didn't have any forced fumbles or interceptions or anything like that. But the defense played well. They were very similar to what we've kind of seen kind of all season, where it kind of took a little minute for them to kind of get going. You know, it's pretty common for the Saints to allow teams to score on their first drive and the offensive in the same breath to not score on the same drive. So yeah, that kind of happened like early on in this game, but man, they tightened down real hard after the Panthers got their 17 points. They tightened out and shut them out for the rest of the game. So I ain't complaining about the Saints holding the team under 20 points. If they can do that consistently and maybe consistently score 21 points a game, maybe we'll have something. And then kick returns. You had Evan Hull had 3 return for 72 yards, 24 average, 29 long. And then Mason Tipton, who seemed like the Panthers were kind of kicking away from, because I guess the last 2 weeks against the Buccaneers and against the Dolphins, he's had a couple like 50-yard returns. So I guess that's been enough for Mason Tipton to get noticed in the kickoff, the return game. But he just had 1 for 19. And then there were no punt returns in this game. That's kind of weird. And then Charlie Smith was big time in this game. You know, after having kind of a not so great game in the game against the Buccaneers, where he missed one. But yeah, he had a real get back game in this. So he was 2 for 2. So he's 100% on field goals. The long was the 47-yard game winner at the game, at almost at the gun, to go up 20-17 over the Panthers, leaving them just 2 seconds. And that was such a horrible last end of game type of play there, where they tried to do like some hook and ladders and fumbles and laterals and things like that. Man, I was a lot more scared, even though I don't know if the mini man, Oompa Loompa, or whatever you want to call him, mini quarterback, and Bryce Young. I don't know if he could throw it 80 yards, 70, 80 yards, anyways. But I was more afraid that was what was going to happen on that play. But didn't have to worry about it. So yeah, he had and was 2 for 2 on extra points and 8 total points. And then punting, New Orleans punting was 2 punts for 95 yards, 47.5 average, which was pretty good. Improvement over some of the games that we've seen this season. 0 touchbacks, 1 inside the 20, and a long of 58. So Kai Kroger been coming on a little bit towards the end of the season here. And then just kind of some of the Panthers number. It looked like Bryce Young was about to light the Saints up early in this game, because they went right down on their first drive and scored a touchdown, went up 17-0, and or went up 7-0. But yeah, and had what, he had like a long pass to a receiver. Yeah, he had a couple long passes to some receivers. He had the 32-yard touchdown to Jalen Coker. Xavier Legit had a 34-yard pass reception as well, and then Tetria McMillan had a 21-yarder. But you would look at some of those plays, and yeah, he's making these big plays to these receivers and big 30-plus yard touchdown plays. But basically, after those like 3 plays I rattled off, he didn't do like anything after that in this game. So he was 15 for 24, 163 yards, which is just a 6.8 average, one touchdown, no interceptions, sacked once for a 9-yard loss, which was a big play. That was a big play by Chase Young at the end of the game to be able to uh, get the ball back so the Saints could go on that field goal winning drive. And he was a 73.5 QBR and a rating of 96.4. But like I said, after those three big plays that he made to his receivers, he really didn't do anything with the Saints. And kind of the same thing with Rico Dowell. He had just the one touchdown, but he was 16 for 49 yards, which is just a 3.1 average and a touchdown, Rico Dowell's. And then really it was Bryce Young who was tearing the Saints up in the running game in regards to like the Saints seemed like they got him to like third and long, like what, like 3 or 4 times, and he was able to scramble out and pick up 15 yards and pick up the first down on a couple of plays. Like the Saints had some bad containment a couple times, several times in this game, which kept some drives alive for Bryce Young because he had seven carries for 49 yards, a 7-yard average, and a long of 15. And then Chuba Hubbard had 8 carries for 29 yards. And then just reading over the defenders that all like racked up the sacks. So Christian Roseboom, who was the linebacker who got the big 15-yard penalty on the slide at the end of the game, he had 6 total tackles with 3 solo, 1 sack, and 1 quarterback hit. Bobby Brown III had 6 total tackles, 3 solo, and a half a sack with 1 quarterback hit. DJ Woonham had 4 total tackles, 2 solo, 2 sacks, and 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits. And then Travis Gibson had 1 total tackle, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a quarterback hit. And then Nick Skuriton had 1 total tackle, and a half a sack and a quarterback hit. And then like both teams, there weren't any like turnovers or anything like that. 1 turnover on down for the Panthers. So that's the Panthers stats for the most part. And then we get just to team stats here. The big one are penalties. I've seen quite a bit of that after the game that that Panther fans were up in arms over the penalties in this game. They thought the game was rigged or it was scripted or the refs were on the Saints side, which is just the most comical thing. The refs are never on the Saints side, and the fact that the Saints had 9 penalties for 78 yards of their own lost. While I understand that Panthers had more, but it was 11 for 103. But I think the thing that was the big deal with the Panthers penalties is that I think 4 or 5 of them accounted for first downs for the Saints, led to first downs, which they would have led to plays where it's either like 3rd down or 4th down, and then the Saints got a first down because of a penalty for the Panthers. And then the time of possession was about the same. The Panthers, even though the Panthers were able to run the ball better, the Saints went on some ridiculously long drives in the 4th quarter. Like that first drive there, I think it was the one where they went on it's like a 15 play drive or something like that, and then ended up getting a field goal. And then later in the 4th quarter went on like another like 11, 12 play drive. But even though the Panthers led in rushing, that didn't lead in time of possession, even though it's pretty similar. The Panthers had 28 minutes and 16 seconds, while the Saints had 31 minutes and 44. So not too different really. So that's your like your team stats and your player stats. Let's move on to MVPs now. So MVPs for this game. So I talked about how I was kind of happy, happy and sad kind of at the same time because I wasn't able to follow the Buccaneers game a little bit more closely in regards to like making the prediction for it and having a reaction show for it. But I was kind of glad that I didn't do the prediction show for it because I think I had in the chamber I had Charlie Smith in the chamber for my MVP for the Buccaneers game. But because I didn't do the post game, the pregame, and all that for that, wasn't able to pick him. So I was able to save him for this week against the Carolina Panthers. And I kind of said all he really had to do was like make like a 50-yarder and 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 make all of his extra point attempts, and that would be enough for him to be the MVP and the player of the game on special teams. Well, he did even more than that. He ended up hitting a 47-yard game winner and was 2 for 2 on his field goals and 2 for 2 on extra points and 8 points total. And I know I'm not the only Saints fan out there that, yeah, I love that the Saints got the extra 15 yards, making it a 47-yarder and making it easier for the Saints. And for me, the big thing is it gave the Saints a timeout there because I don't think they'd have been able to get back up and spike the ball with just like 8 seconds and no timeouts and had Tyler Shuck rolling around on the ground. So there's a little bit of me that wanted to see Charlie Smith kick a 60-yarder. If they would have that play would have played out and they'd have been able to get up and spike the ball, the field goal without the penalty, the field goal would have been somewhere around like 61, 62 yards. And he hit that 47-yarder and there was room to spare on it. I think if he'd have hit the exact same field goal, I know you got a lot more pressure on you when it's a longer field goal. So maybe you're not kicking it exactly the same, but say he kicked it exactly the same as he hit that 47-yarder. I think he could have made a 60-yarder there with the kick that he made. And one of the wildest things before I forget about this that would have been so Saintsy, but luckily it didn't happen was so we cut Blake Groupie because he's like the worst kicker in the league and was missing chip shots and things like that for the Saints. Well, hell, he accounted this past Sunday here. He accounted for the majority of the Colts, Indianapolis Colts, points against the against the Seattle Seahawks. So he was 4 for 4 on field goals, and he made a 60-yarder. Talk about Saintsy, like these players that are just very mid or just not even good when they're with the Saints, and they go somewhere else, and hell, they look like the best player at their position in the league. And it would have been so Saintsy. I'm so thankful. I'd be still struggling about it if the Saints were set up to where they had to kick a 60-yarder, and then Charlie Smith misses the 60-yarder, and then we have Taysom Hill, or not Taysom Hill, but Blake Groupie over here making a 60-yarder when he couldn't even make a 19-yarder when he was playing with us. But thankfully, we avoided that drama and that ridiculousness and saintsiness at least for another week at least. So that's definitely your off a special teams player of the game. You go for offense. I think probably easily say Chris Olave or Tyler Shuck, but I think I'm going to go with Tyler Shuck for this because he had the two like game-winning drives. He had the game-winning, the game-tying touchdown drive, and then after that he had the game-winning field goal drive where he had to take the big shot and get back up after he was sprawled out and looked like he was just dead, which I loved seeing about the whole offense come and circle around him and like literally just like pick him up like no man, you're too good to be hurt for our guy who we found to be hurt now. But supposedly in the locker room or after press conference, which I kind of wish he wouldn't have said this, but he said he kind of flopped a little bit, is what he's saying, or he was kind of over exaggerated, like how hurt he was to make sure they got the call there. Definitely sounds like maybe he needed to uh, do some training or or inform uh, uh, Tommy Lee Lewis about that, not just after getting completely laid out on a play. You maybe not just hopping up to your feet and brushing yourself off like nothing even happened. That might be a way to get more penalties called for you. Not doing that. Maybe selling it a little bit. But yeah, supposedly Tyler Shough sold it on that play. But regardless of that, I still don't want to see him. He's getting hit about a dozen times a game, whether it's sacks or quarterback hits or on taken down on run plays. But yeah, I'd say Tyler Shough's the player of the game, not just for his stats and numbers, but just the two essentially the game-winning drives that he had to put together. But he was 24 for 32, 272 yards, 8.5 average with a touchdown, the 5 sacks for a 16-yard loss, a 60.4 QBR, 110.4 rating, and then the Saints leading rusher with 8 carries for 32 yards, an average of 4, and a long of 13. And then on the defense, I think you just kind of have to give it to Chase Young, because that sack was so important, such a crucial play, such a crucial sack, and such a crucial time to have a play like that. Basically, setting the Panthers up on their drive where it's 17-7, where they can go get the game-winning touchdown on like their first play of the series, getting dropped and set back to 2nd and 19, which led to the Saints getting the ball back. Was pretty awesome by Chase Young. So yeah, Chase Young also just the leading tackler, total tackles 6 and 4 solo, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. And the other tackle for loss was a play where he blew up a running play for like a 5-yard loss as well. So yeah, Chase Young, since he's came back after coming back since like week 6, he's been pretty impressive. And now he's just a half a sack back to Cam Jordan now. So he has 6 and Cam Jordan has 6.5. So those are your players of the game. Now then, on to hot takes, which these hot takes were not nice. Thankfully, the Charlie Smith one hit just about as good as possible, and kind of the same thing with the picks and scores. But these hot takes are kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. But hey, I got the receipts. You guys got the receipts, so you can use them against me. So I'm just gonna spill them out here. So the first hot take that I had, and what was hoping that would probably kind of lead to a victory in this game, and would be something nice to kind of carry over from the Buccaneers game, where they were able to get a touchdown on their first drive and get a stop on their first defensive series. And so I was thinking a fast start in this game, and we didn't get that at all. I was hoping for another fast start again, and the Saints pretty much didn't score on their first 2 drives. And I tuned in late to the game, a little late to the game, where there was like 13 minutes left in the first quarter. So I was thinking that the Saints hadn't got the ball back, hadn't got the ball yet, but I guess they got the ball first and like went 3 and out, I assume. But yeah, then the Panthers got the ball, their first series, and just marched right down the field. It looks like no hardly any resistance at all from this defense, and score a touchdown, and then Saints get the ball back again and do nothing with it. So definitely didn't get the fast start that we were looking for again in this game. So definitely no on that, an F on that type of hot take prediction. And then basically kind of a similar kind of feel and vibes around this one was Tyler Shough. I was predicting that he was only gonna get sacked once or less times in this game, and yeah, me as person, I think that's just something I want to see or want to happen. I'm not so sure it's going to happen this year because he just went and got sacked 5 times for a loss of 16 yards. But like I said earlier, some of it's not just like outright sacks because he's making a bad play or the offensive line is terrible. I say he's not making a bad play, but yeah, sometimes I think it's due to kind of indecision on his part of whether he wants to run or whether he's still wanting to step up in the pocket and throw. I would say at least 2 of those 5 sacks came on plays like that where he just didn't decide to run fast enough or soon enough, or didn't decide to step up in the pocket to try to find another option to throw to fast enough. So yeah, both those hot takes, neither one of those hit. And then on to picks and scores. I'm pretty proud of myself for this one. I think I got as close as I have like all year, really, on a game for picks and the score. So this game, with the way it started out, it felt very similar to the first game that the Saints had played against the Panthers, where the Saints kind of took kind of a while to get going, but of course the Panthers had a quick start, but then just kind of just ran out of gas kind of after their first couple drives. I would say the Panthers had a little more fight in them in this game than they did in the first game. The Cardiac Cats had a little bit more juice and life to them in this game, which led to them scoring 17 points. But my score for this, I got the score correct for the Saints. So I predicted the Saints to win 20-10 in this game. So got pretty close to picking the score, the Saints pick, and the score was almost exactly right. Just the extra 7 points from the Panthers. So I'm pretty proud of myself, and it's just happy. It feels good to follow a team that's winning. You know, I think after the Saints beat the Giants several weeks back, a couple months ago, I mentioned like, man, you kind of forget what it feels like to win and how nice it is. And yeah, this team is a lot more fun and it's a lot more enjoyable following this team when they're winning and when they win and when it looks like you have a future quarterback, a franchise quarterback. Just takes a lot of weight off your shoulders as a Saints fan and as a Houdat. But yeah, so did good with the picks and scores and did good with the MVP and Charlie Smith. Look to do better next week against the Jets with our hot takes. But yeah, I think this game went good and it was so fun, and just shows you how fun it can be when the Saints are actually decent and can win. But yeah, I think the Saints just overall, over pretty much majority, just the basic explanation here is just the Saints own the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, and Bryce Young. It looked like there for a moment that he was going to have a breakthrough game against them, but you know, it was after that 30-something yard like deep shot that Quincy Riley got burned on. Like after that, there was pretty much nothing, no offensive, nothing offensively to be concerned with the Panthers. But yeah, they're Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, like the Saints is like their daddy, like for real. No matter what the Saints record is, and no matter what the Panthers record is. So that's the Saints 20-17 victory over the Carolina Panthers. So they're 4-10 now. I think they only have what 2 losses in the NFC South, but so they're 3-2, I think, in the NFC South. And the Panthers dropped to 7-7, and they're tied with the Buccaneers for just a what do you call it, a phone booth brawl between the Panthers and the Buccaneers to decide who's going to win the NFC South. So that's that game. And just kind of the final notes here was just kind of the injury report that we wanted to go over here. So yeah, I think I didn't really hear too much about what happened to Cesar Ruiz, but the 2 main ones was definitely Devon Dele and Devin Neal. So I'm pretty sure Devin Neal ended up having to come out of the game after scoring the touchdown with a hamstring injury of some sort, but don't know how serious it is. But the one that I was really concerned with was was Devon Bailey when he got sandwiched between two Carolina defenders on a pass play over the middle, and they said he was in a sling and all that business in the locker room. So that had me concerned that man, it was going to be something serious like a damage to the rotator cuff or something torn in his shoulder or broken or something like that. But from what I'm hearing, it turns out that I guess he avoided any serious damage like a torn rotator cuff or a serious shoulder contusion or anything like that. But yeah, I guess Devon Bailey, they got him just listed as day to day after that. And I think that's what he was dealing with, the shoulder injury when the Saints traded for him. And that kind of was what led to him not being involved early on in some of their activity. So I'm interested if it's the kind of the same shoulder or if he's prone to having shoulder injuries. But I see it's kind of hard to avoid one when you're taking the kind of shots that he's been taking the last couple weeks on these shots over the middle. But yeah, hopefully nothing serious from any of these injuries. And if any of these guys aren't at least 85% or healthier, then I would personally fine with not seeing them for the remainder of the season. And hey, we'll just get healthy for 2026. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So the Saints are streaking now. They're 2-0. They're on a 2-game winning streak. It's been a while since been able to say anything like that, but it's nice. It's nice, and I feel that the draft pick is not going to get any better with the opponents that they have in front of them. But just have to enjoy the product on the field and enjoy just the winning. But that's as much as you can do as a Saints fan and a Who Dat. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So Who Dat, and can I get a check, please?